appreciate that, and thank you for inviting us. We really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all this morning. Taking your Sunday morning to listen to pensions is very impressive. I'm going to take about half hour of your time this morning, and I'm just going to cover some of the rules around auto-enrolment workplace pensions that faces all employers in the UK. So it's not just the fish and chip shops, it's every employer in the UK this affects, and I'm just going to run through the rules and how it impacts you and your employees. Talk a bit about the partnership that we have with the National Federation of Fish Fryers, about the plan that Carey Pensions Workplace Pension is offering you, the employers, and the support that you'll have, and also the online application process that we have, and how we're here to support that, and indeed how the NFFF is supporting that as well. So without further ado, let's go on to the rules. So this legislation...
Can you step back just a little bit further away from the camera? Thank you. This
legislation came in actually in October 2012, so a lot of the big companies in the UK have already staged, and we're getting now into the era of smaller, medium-sized companies. And therefore the capacity in the marketplace is increasing. There's 554,000 companies this year that will have to stage, which means setting up a workplace pension for their employees, and next year that goes up to 650,000 employers. So the industry itself has a big challenge, and that's why we are working with federations like the National Federation of Fish Fryers to enable their members to get access to a workplace pension in a seamless way, providing them with benefits, and also to, if you like, beat the rush. And it's important that people sign up as early as possible, because there is going to be constraints in the industry with capacity, and that's across whether you're a small pension provider or a large pension provider. And undoubtedly those that leave it till the last minute will then get subject to probably a hike in establishment fees. So there's a number of reasons why it's good to think about doing it earlier rather than later. But as an employer, you have to, by your staging date, comply with the auto-enrolment rules, which basically means you have to set up a qualifying workplace pension at your staging date. You may postpone your contributions for 3 months, that is allowed, but you do not postpone the actual establishment of the pension scheme. You have to have that ready for your staging date. Once you have your staging date, you will assess all of your workers, and they will be categorised, which I'll come on to. Your responsibility is to pay a minimum level of contributions. Again, I'll come on to this in a bit. And also your employees will have to pay a minimum level of contributions from the date in which you start the pension scheme. So if you postpone, it will be 3 months after your staging date. If you start the contributions at staging date, then they will have to pay their contributions if they're eligible to do so. Every company has a staging date. If you don't know your staging date, there's a link. I know on we provide a link through the information we've provided to the National Federation of Fish Fryers through their website, and actually it's quite simple to go onto that link and determine your staging date. And then when you get your staging date or the postponement date, you'll be assessing your workers, and they'll be categorised into 3 categories. These are eligible, non-eligible, and entitled. So what does that mean? These are the rules. So once you've assessed your workers, if they are assessed as an eligible worker, they will be over 22, but they'll be under the state pension age, and they'll be earning more than £10,000 a year. All of the categories means that the workers will be working regularly in the UK. So if one of your employees falls into that category, they will be eligible. And I will talk about what that means after this slide.
So can I actually 2 seconds, please? I've got something wrong with the sound.
Take them for you. 5 minutes.
So that's an eligible category. They'll be assessed as non-eligible if they earn more than 10,000, but they're under 22 or over 75. But they could be non-eligible if they're between 22 and 75, but earn between, oh, I have to put my glasses on now, sorry, 5,824 and £10,000. So if they fall into that definition, then they will be categorised non-eligible. And then the entitled workers will earn £5,824 or less and be under age 75, but no younger than 60. So what does it mean to an employee if they are assessed as eligible? What it means is that they will be automatically enrolled into that pension scheme. They do not have a choice. And the employer and themselves will make a contribution. They do have the option to opt out, but that's got to be their choice. It's very important that employers do not engage in conversations with their employees about opting out of the pension scheme. The pensions regulator are actually looking at the statistics in terms of companies that have 100% opt-out, and they are making phone calls to those companies to see if there's been any coercement. So it is important that the individuals choose whether they want to opt out or not, and you do not engage in that conversation with them. If I, as a worker, have been assessed as non-eligible, I won't be automatically enrolled into the pension scheme, but I actually can choose to join it. So that's called opting in. So I can choose to opt in, and if I do choose to opt in, then you, the employer, will have to make the employer contributions, and I will make my contributions. Okay, but from a legal point of view, you must, if I choose to opt in, make the employer contributions as well. If I've been assessed as entitled, it means that I won't be automatically enrolled, but I still can choose to opt in. But it means that you, as an employer, do not have to, if you don't want to, make the employer contribution. So basically, the entitled category, the employees are on their own. They're choosing themselves to make a level of contributions that they want. So once you assess your workers, they'll come into one of these 3 categories, and then there's some actions for either themselves or yourselves to do in terms of paying across the contributions. Contributions. So what level of contributions do we all have to be making? Currently, and up until the 5th of April 2018, the minimum contribution overall is 2%. The minimum contribution the employer, yourselves, have to pay is 1% of that 2%. So you pay 1%, the employee pays 1% from their payroll. Then when we get to the 6th of April 2019, the minimum goes up to a total of 5%, of which the employer pays 2% and the employee pays 3%. And the reason that the employee contribution is slightly higher is because they get the benefit of tax relief from the government. So that 3% includes the 20% tax relief that they get towards their pension contribution. And then from 6th of April 2019, the minimum goes up to 8%, of which 3% is paid by the employer and 5% is paid by the employee. Okay, so it's tiering up. Of course, you can pay more than that. The individuals could choose to pay a higher contribution. You as employers could choose to pay a higher contribution. But they are the minimums by the legislation. Okay. So we are working with the National Federation of Fish Fryers and have become their pensions partner. And we as a company work with all size of employers. We do not say you have to be a certain size, you have to put in a certain level of contributions, which other pension providers would do. And they're putting in more and more sort of requirements as we get sort of further into auto-enrolment. But we have agreed a special rate for the members of the NFFF. So it is a one-off fee for employers to establish their workplace pension with ourselves of £345, and that gets you compliant. If you do it early, and I know a number of the members have done it early, they're not staged until 2017, it actually means that you're compliant early, you can sort of rest, making sure that you don't have to worry close to the day. You pay the one-off fee, we establish the pension scheme for you, we establish your pension scheme bank account, and then when we get to your staging date, we will get back in touch with you and say you have to do these things now. Okay? So, and in addition to that discounted fee from our standard fees, the Federation have agreed to reduce your next year's membership fee by £50. So there's an additional benefit for doing it sort of sooner rather than later. We as a pension company, you may not have heard of Carey Pensions. Carey Pensions is part of a bigger financial services group that have been around for 40 odd years. The UK pension business was started by myself in 2009. We've got 55 staff in Milton Keynes providing support to our pension scheme members and the employers that use us. We are a 5-star rated product, which is an independent company that rates pension providers and their products in terms of the quality of the service, the quality of our default investment option. So we're very proud that we have got that independent rating. We've got about 70,000 members in our pension schemes at the moment in terms of individual pension arrangements and company scheme arrangements, and we administer about £1.2 billion worth of pension scheme assets. And I would just tell you in terms of how the assets, so the pension contributions are held. They are held in a trustee company, which is a bare trustee, so it's a non-trading company. It's there, it's ring-fenced in terms of the assets that it's held, and therefore, God forbid, the pension administration company is the trading company, so it's absolutely separately set apart from the administration company. And because it's a master trust arrangement which has a lot of corporate governance, we have a trustee board, we've got 3 trustee companies, 2 of which are independent, and we have to fulfill a number of corporate governance responsibilities that the pensions regulator insists on. So we're a very robust organisation, and I said we've got 55 members providing support to our membership. why we're sort of coming to meetings like this is really to sort of educate people, inform people of the importance of doing it now. Why wait? There's 1.8 million employers with 6 million employees needed to be assessed in this process. The pensions regulator do produce information on a quarterly basis, and they have started issuing enforcement notices for companies that have not complied, and that seems to be increasing now. Probably a year ago there wasn't that many. We know that they've issued more than 500 enforcement notices and fined people in excess of £500 a day. In reality, if they were really to put their teeth in, if people were late and continue to be late, I have to say they are quite tolerant in terms of you're at least trying to do something. They're not going to, you know, issue with enforcement notice. But if you continually show that you're not, or demonstrate that you're not actually taking this seriously, they will then start the enforcement process. So I would urge everyone to seriously think about getting things sorted. The other thing is that not all pension providers are going to accept all employers. Some we know already are cherry picking. We believe that as a master trust and as a responsible pension provider, we shouldn't discriminate against the smaller company and the larger company. You know, it's important that all members can be satisfied in terms of their pension needs. So we will take any size company, and we have got companies of just one employee already set up. And I talked about the capacity issue, and I think that is a well-known thing that is out in our industry a lot, that capacity is going to get tighter and tighter as, you know, we get closer towards the end of this year and into next year, where the big bulge sort of starts happening. So there's no additional cost to set up early. You actually get a discount, and then you know you're safe in the knowledge that you are compliant. We've tried to make it easy, working with the NFFF, to enable you to establish your workplace pension. We have got an online application process through the NFFF website, and it is quite simple to click on, takes you through things. You have to have a little preparation in terms of having your company number, your payroll reference, your staging date available, in terms of filling in the form online. But it's simply, once you've got those bits of information, it takes approximately 9 minutes to set up your workplace pension. You pay for it online as well. Everything is electronic, so the agreement is electronically sent to your email address, and you electronically sign that, and then we receive that back into our work queue, and we'll set up your pension scheme if you do online. We've got support to help you, and indeed what today is about is to provide that support, and Carol is part of the sales team who has helped existing members through their application process, so we're happy to do that. The rest of the sales team is also happy to be online with you if you feel a little bit uncomfortable with doing online activity. We actually have, for those of you that might be a bit phobic about going online, paper-based application forms if you wanted to take those away. But the online process, I think some of the members have already done it, is quite simple. So I would urge you to do that. And also talk to your payroll provider, because obviously your payroll provider will have the assessment and communication portal that will enable you to assess the workers. We can provide that, but first we always suggest first stop is your payroll, because most payroll software companies now do have that functionality, and you should just use that, because obviously there's no cost, or there's not additional cost for having your payroll plus another portal. So speak to your payroll providers, and again, we're probably getting uploads and schedules from just about every payroll provider now, so I don't think that there's any that we can't receive a schedule from. So what we've worked with the NFFF is on videos. There's a video just recently been uploaded to the website. I don't know whether any of you have seen it. The website, we're putting new content in as a result of the feedback from the early stages or the members that have gone online and established their pension scheme. We've put on additional help facilities. So there is an actual video on there on how to complete the online application, checklists, etc. So we're trying to improve the information we offer through the NFF website continually. However, like I said, you can pick up the phone and speak to us. And that's the difference between ourselves and a lot of the other pension providers. They're a bit faceless, and we really believe that we're providing the true traditional support in making sure you've got a number and people you can speak to if you need help and support. We can offer webinars as well if you feel that you want some more information about auto enrolment, or you want your staff to listen to a webinar about pensions and auto enrolment. We can provide that facility, and we have an online microsite, and our administrators are there to help. But we do have a paper version if all else fails and you feel paper is what you want to do. So our message to you is government campaign. You've probably seen Worky on the adverts, and Worky's telling us not to ignore it. So he's not getting fined. So our message is don't delay. Do it today and wear about all day if you want to sit with us and sign up. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Good question. If you've got no staff who will donate over 10,000.
Sorry, David. Can we just cut the live feed before question and answers?
Made it, well, obviously it's going to so it's done.
Sorry, so you've got...
If you have no staff which actually are eligible, do you still have to set it up?
Yes.
You still
Yes. The point is that you have to have the scheme set up in case those that aren't eligible still want to join. So the non-eligible and the entitled still have the right to join. The entitled, you don't have to pay a contribution, but the non-eligible, you do have to pay a contribution. So we've got, in the packs, there is the presentation as well, so you can just remind yourself of that. The categories, but you have to set up the pension scheme. That is your by law you have to do. That's non-negotiable. You have to assess all your workers, and then depending on the category will depend on whether they get auto-enrolled or whether you have to pay a contribution.
Excuse me, thank you for that presentation. It was very interesting. You mentioned about the tax incentives for the employee.
Yeah.
Is there any tax incentives for the employer, or is it just another drain on our profits?
Well, if you were going to do it by way, and this is something you'd have to probably discuss with your accountant, but if you were going to pay the contributions by way of salary sacrifice, which generally means that you're offering your employees to take the pension contribution prior to the tax being calculated. So they're basically saying, I'll sacrifice 1% of my salary as a pension contribution. Yeah. So if you do it that way round, then there is a benefit to the employee employer from an NI point of view, because what it's doing is making effectively everything an employer contribution, but then the employee doesn't get that tax relief. But there'd still be, but that's the way to get a benefit from an employer's perspective on NI. But your accountant would be able to explain that far better than I.
I follow the drift when you're talking about national insurance contributions, because it's fair to say that a lot of people in this trade employ people on a minimum amount of hours so that they don't have to pay national insurance contributions. Well, most of those people, I don't know what the limit is now, but it used to be, when I went back a few years, at £90. So it was tried a few years ago with stakeholders' pensions, but we couldn't get companies to agree. They weren't going to do it for 1%.
Right, so I can tell you, and I should have, apologies for that. So your fee, I explained for establishing it, that's one-off fee. So from an ongoing point of view, there is an annual administration and investment charge. So the pension provider has to provide administration and a default investment for an ongoing fee, which is capped by the government at 0.75. So less than 1%.
The original one is £350.
Sorry?
I think you said the original fee was £350.
The establishment. That's an employer fee. The rest, the ongoing fee for admin and investment is what's called a member-borne deduction. So it comes out of the contributions that are invested. And that is capped at 0.75. So it's less than stakeholder.
So what about the involvement of the third party then? Because not so many years ago, they changed the ruling that you had to have a third party involved when you were trying to sell somebody a pension. Because my bank manager tried to sell me, and as it happened, I'd already taken a pension out. And I said, where's the third party? And there's supposed to be a third party. So what happened with me was that I sat with my accountant, who was then the third party. Now, are we saying that the third party is the NFFF?
Well, the NFFF is providing its membership with a pension provider that it's gone into partnership with. And they have had advice from an independent advisor who have selected the Carey workplace pension. So if you want to talk about third parties, then that could be, it's the advisor that would be the third party. But there actually isn't a need for a third party. This is an occupational pension scheme. There's not a need, well, if you were transferring an occupational pension scheme to a personal pension, or transferring it, or doing something, there are specialist people that have got specialist qualifications. So most other people wouldn't engage with an occupational defined benefit, final salary transfer, things like that.
There isn't an obligation then for you to have third party?
No. We have got independent, the way in which the pension scheme is set up, it's a trustee rules. We've got, which was brought in last year in July, we always had one independent, but they increased the requirement on master trusts to have an additional independent. So all master trusts have to have 2 independent trustees for oversight in terms of the corporate governance. So we monitor the default fund where the workers are effectively auto-enrolled into, which is a target dated fund, which means basically if an individual was born in 1980, the target date for retirement is 65, so they would be in the 2045 fund. And that's actively managed by an investment manager, Alliance Bernstein, who is a big global investment manager. They manage £317 billion worth of pension scheme assets. It's owned by, or is part of the AXA group, which is a big global company in itself. And they've won 9 industry awards for their target dated funds. So, and the trustees have to monitor that in terms of making sure it is performing to the requirements that is set down in the statement of investment principles. So in this environment, there's so many different independents that third party type arrangement is not needed. So, but as an individual, I understand as an individual of a occupational scheme, you would have been told you need an independent advisor, definitely, I understand that. Hello?
John, this is Laser.
John, you've got a few questions, isn't it?
Yeah, just to catch up on what Aidan was saying. Carey Pensions was chosen as a partner for the NFFF.
We had 2 companies present, and Carey was the most robust and professional.
And they give a really good benefit to the members and to the association. And one of the things that people miss as well, because we were looking at enrolling, well, our staging date was the 1st of January this year. Fortunately, Carey Pensions came onto the scene just before we had to get it all set up. But we were being quoted set-up figures between £500 and £1,500 to just initially set up. Through Carey's, it's £345 and we get £50 off our membership for next year. And that's a one-off payment. So from a small employer, that was a major benefit to us. The other side of it is the ongoing maintenance of it. It's £1 per person.
Yeah, so it's 0.5. So
Yeah.
we have to hit the cost of our ongoing admin and our investment admin at 0.75. And there's quite a complex matrix of how you do that. So we charge our ongoing fee at 0.5 plus £1 per member per month.
Yeah.
And that comes out of the member born deduction.
Whereas for all the other people we have been talking to, the minimum fee was £25 a month, whether you had one person in it or whether if you didn't have any at all in it. We've had 100 people, the minimum of £25 per person. So again, this is quite a very, we found it from, and that's not speaking as a federation, and I was talking as Penalooners, we found it a very, very good solution.
There's no ongoing employer fee from us.
You could say say you had 10 employees for argument's sake, what are the ongoing yearly costs of that?
Right, so it's for the members, it comes out of their pots on a quarterly in arrears basis. So what we do is, because we charge at 0.5 of the fund plus £1 member, it'll be £3 that comes off at the end of every quarter of their pot, plus whatever 0.5 is of their asset.
But if you've set up and no one takes it up anyway, what are the ongoing costs?
There's not.
There is nothing.
Nobody takes
So
it up.
it's just this is just
Yeah.
245.
Yeah,
that's
you've fulfilled your legal obligation
But
with a one fee.
There's no ongoing costs after that then, for me.
Not for an
Not
employer.
The thing, again, there's several people around here, and hopefully we're involved, well, not hopefully, but we're involved with the village, where perhaps the only person that qualifies is the owner of the company who perhaps draws a salary or whatever. The employees are young people under the age of 22, not earning sufficient, and really are not interested in setting up a pension at that age. But it is still a mandatory requirement, isn't it?
Yes.
And that's some advice that has been missed as well.
Yeah.
It is a mandatory requirement. It's not going to cost anything else after we set it up, but it is mandatory. One piece of very, very good advice we received when we were setting ours up, and if anybody else wants to say anything, please carry on. But we postponed ours for 3 months. Now, from the understanding I had from a seasonal employer as well, that postponement is actually beneficial to us taking people on for July and August, because those 3 months start from the time that postponement starts from the time we employ them. So if we're only employing them for 10 weeks or whatever, actually there's no entitlement for them to enrol at all.
Yeah, so we would
it's
see that
knowing what
coming
apples
through
forward. Yeah.
in your monthly assessment, because you have to assess every month through your
Yeah.
payroll. And so when you have new staff for whatever reason, because you have chosen a 3-month postponement, we will send them out their postponement notice, or your system will send out postponement notice. So we won't be expecting a contribution if they were eligible for 3 months after.
I mean, I set it up and I spoke to my accountant did all the communication side of it for me. He sends a summary to Carey. None of my employees have taken up the scheme, but it's there for them. And I've actually tried to encourage my manageress to do it, because it just gives her a bit of security, and it might help tie your staff in with you. They feel like it's difficult to leave, or more difficult to leave if they've got a pension fund with you. So even though it is transferable, it's still just a little...
Yeah, that's the next little question. Again, we've had several staff leave us a year, 18 months later, have to come back to us, and we've taken on those that we want to take back on. How will they start again, or can we? Or will it be an ongoing?
If they've got some contributions in their pot, some money in their pot, that just stays in a frozen state effectively until we get a request to either move it somewhere else, or if it's still there and they come back to you and they come back through the payroll, then we will just make them live again.
I think it'll be quite frustrating for some people at the moment, because some of the contributions are so small.
Yeah.
And they say, well, nothing's going to happen to it, and people forget about it. But that it isn't there for that. It is really there to encourage them to start making plans for their future. So it's certainly something that we will encourage with our people.
Well, the government certainly won't be able to.
Because the government haven't got any plans for our future.
Exactly. The other thing, we've got a couple of members of staff who are a little bit older in the tooth, not IT friendly, or want to use IT in any shape or form. So I'm glad to hear that you've got some paper system, because there will be 3 that I know that I have to refer to as paper on future communications from yourselves.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, that covers mine. Thank you.
Any other questions?
As an employee, how do you find out how much you've got in your pot?
Oh well, so every employee gets access online, so they'll be able to see all the contributions gone in, what it's invested in, and the current value of that investment. If they don't go online, there is always an annual benefit statement that's sent out, which will generally go out. Our pension scheme year goes from end of March to end of March, so we tend to send out benefit statements within 6 weeks of March end.
That's why I got my communication, because we've got a couple of others.
But it is a simple phone call or an email into the help desk saying what's the current value, and we get straight back.
Yeah, I've got a copy of the agreement that we had sent through with when we enrolled. Most of it is fairly straightforward. If somebody wants to see what it looks like, I'm quite happy to share part of it with you.
Anyone else got any questions?
Yeah, question. You said where the pension pot is stored is in a trust fund.
Yeah, it's in the master trust, the trust.
And is that protected by the government?
So there's various levels of protection. The trust itself is just a bare trust, okay? So other than the investments that the money is in going up and down, that money can't be lost, okay? Because it's in a trust and held by the trustees, of which there's a board of trustees, 2 of which are independent. So that money can't go anywhere other than into the investments on behalf of the beneficiaries, and obviously their beneficiaries, because from a death point of view, not very nice to talk about death on a Sunday morning, but when you build up your pension pot, if God forbid if anybody died prior to their retirement, then the whole of it tax-free goes to whoever you have expressed that to in your expression of wishes form. So
the only reason I ask is because recently in the news BHS went into administration, and there were talks about whoever took it over that the pensions wouldn't be protected.
Well, it depends on what type of scheme it goes. I mean, what's in there currently would be, and I don't know the detail of the trustee rules of the pension, but the BHS scheme would be a final salary scheme. This scheme is a money purchase scheme, which is slightly different anyway. But the final salary schemes are under the Pension Protection Fund, which is run by the pensions regulator.
So when you enrol, you're provided with a unique number, which is registered with the pension regulator. So it's all comes through qualified check.
How long does it take to set this up?
Online, 9 minutes. If you get it done faster, let us know and I'll start saying it.
You can go over this straight away now, David, if you want. All right, it won't take long. I know you've got loads of questions and answers.
We can take you through it, and then on paper, it just how long it takes to fill the paper thing in, and then we take it back to the office and get it set up and email you the bits and pieces.
But it is very straightforward online.
Online, it's straightforward.
Can I just ask? Lots of people working in our industry have got a second job. Sometimes they have a first job and then come to a chip shop as a second job. Now, assuming there is no such thing today as a job for them, during the course of it, they work they're going to maybe change jobs. I don't know how many times.
Well, they say on average 5 times now.
Well, it used to be 5 times. That's my life before. That was before the sort of 0 hours contract. Is there, but also you mentioned the other point with regards to the age of retirement. You know, you said 1980, 65. We all know they moved the pension age in the end.
Yeah, we've assumed from our trust a 65 age. I mean, people can stay in it for as long as they like, basically. But we have to have a reference point in order to auto-enroll people into the target dated funds. So we have just, the trustees have assumed, and that will be reviewed once we've got some, if you like, analysis of the profile of our membership. So if the profile of our membership show that more and more people are sort of not choosing 65, then the trustees would increase that to sort of 75, and then that would readjust.
You could draw your private pension out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting a lot of transfers in, so a lot of people are consolidating what they've had in the past into their current one, because it's just, a lot of people don't, until there's a reason to do so, think about what they've had in the past, and a lot of the old contracts are quite expensive, and actually they can move it into, under one umbrella at a lot cheaper price.
Right, from the Welsh Area Council and the NFF, I'd like to say thank you to yourself, Christine and Carol.